This episode is brought to you by Gainesville Podcast Studio and Dynasty Solutions, a video production and live streaming company.
Welcome to another Moment with Common Hood. I'm your host, Simon P. And today I have a wonderful, spectacular, high-esteemed individual, Mr. Ed Dix. His body of work, you can't get but help but give him high esteem. He's a trailblazer to many. He's one of 5 children and is born and raised here in Sunnyside, Gainesville, Florida. And he's a graduate of Eastside High School, Santa Fe Community College, as well as University of Florida. In 1984, I think he found his calling. I believe that's the first time he got his license for real estate. He's been a Gainesville native, and many people don't know that Edmund Dix was won a Hometown Hero Award from the Gainesville-Alachua County Association of Realtors for his lifelong service in one subject. This man is a real estate guru, a local hero, has done it all, every facet of real estate, from sales to development to building townhomes, building single-family homes. Basically, he's been one that's been improving neighborhoods across all of North Florida and beyond, giving us opportunities for home ownership. Edmund's career development has been dedicated to improving neighborhoods, to provide home ownership in some urban areas, what we call East Gainesville. One of the first to ever do it. There's plenty of neighborhoods you may be familiar with. His involvement with Cedar Grove 2, Lincoln Estates, buying and flipping the homes to remodel them for people to have home ownership. You have, what is that, Lake Gardens over there. You have Aaron Road. You have King Cane Hills. There's so many that he's done. There's so many homes that he's had his foot in. And without further ado, Edwin, I'm going to come off with the very first question I would like to ask you. How did you find that passion to get into real estate?
I guess real estate was, as a little boy, I grew up in Lincoln Estate, 1313 Southeast 17 Terrace. I used to call it bad luck, because 1313.
1313, yes.
So Mockingbird Lane was the Monsters. You remember the TV show. So they was 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So we was 1313 Southeast 17 Terrace. Behind our house was a ditch, and on the other side of the ditch was a wooded area that they later on built into Lincoln Estate's 4th edition. And as a little boy, I used to walk across the ditch. I put a board across the ditch and make me a ramp. And
a ramp to cross.
And the guys over there building, I go over there and say, "Hey, Leon Blood, what you doing over here?" I'm like, "Man, I came over to watch you build this house." And so they'll work me. They'll say, "Hey, bring me one of those blocks, or bring me that hammer, bring me those nails." And lunchtime, they'll bring me a hamburger. They'll get me a 20-cent hamburger from Dairy Trail up on University and 15th Street.
I remember that.
And that was my pay. That was my pay for working on that hot sun all day. But to see woods turn into dirt turn into blocks turn into a home, and someone living in that house was kind of caught me at that age. I think I was 8 years old at the time. Got older. At 9 years old, my dad asked me to rake the backyard. It was cold. And I was watching the cartoons. And so my buddies came over, Greg and AC came over. I said, "Hey, man, y'all rake that backyard for me. I'll give y'all $1 a piece." Because Dad would give me $5 for raking the yard. Dad come in the house and say, "Son, I thought I told you to rake the yard." I said, "Dad, it's getting done."
You did.
It's getting done, Daddy.
Yeah, you did.
So, but when you pay me, give me ones, because I got to pay my help, right? So at 9 years old, I had my first lawn business. So got older, got into real estate, saw a need in our community. We couldn't go to the big real estate offices and get help because no one wanted to sell a house in the hood. Probably was scared to come to the hood.
Right.
And so I saw value in it. So I started this pretty much exclusively selling houses, getting financing, finding funds from SHIP and other down payment assistance programs. Found a lender who would take my good, bad, and ugly, my good credit, my bad credit, and my really ugly credit, because we had some credit challenges.
Right.
And so I found my niche. So my niche was in affordable housing. The further I went into affordable housing as a salesperson, I saw a need for new construction. The first house I ever built was on Southeast 20th Street in Lincoln Estates. I profited $23. I made every mistake you could make, but I took the $23. I went to Applebee's. My lunch was $12, and I left the girl $11 tip.
But you mentioned a critical skill, because when you think of real estate, a lot of people say, well, it takes so much money to get in. But I'm hearing you saying that from the age of 8, like you kind of naturally became a salesperson as well.
Yes, sir.
And sales was the first part of the long-term vision.
Yes, sir.
So just to answer some of the those that be saying, well, it take a lot of money in real estate, I think you just mentioned that if you want to start, you should learn how to sell.
Right.
And I saw that you were a multi-million dollar producer, salesperson, a few years here in this small market. Gainesville is not a huge market. So can you just elaborate what type of skills you would recommend, what kind of characteristics that you would need to be a great salesperson when you were selling at that time before you got into the development part of it?
I think hustle. I think every black man in America got hustle.
Got to hustle.
We got hustle. It was bred in us. You know, we strong, we strong, smart, and got hustle. So when I got into real estate, I knew that I didn't come from a wealthy family. My dad and mom were workers, great, beautiful people. I wouldn't trade them for a billionaire as a father or mother, because they instilled a lot of decent, hardworking values into my brothers and my sisters. We had duties, and as kids, what we had to do, we had a standard they wanted us to live by, and so that didn't equate into money. So I got into real estate sales, and I found a niche. And it's still a niche to today, because the most underserved community is our community. So my way of serving my community was doing sales, finding young families homes to purchase, and finding tools like affordable housing programs, down payment assistance, finding a lender who will adhere to some of our needs and not run from a tough deal. And so what I did, I saved my milk money. I sell a house, I put the money up. I said, you know what, I've lived off of $15,000, $20,000 all these years. I can go 2 or 3 years and I'm making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. I could put that money up and then down the road buy some real estate with it. And so that's what I did.
There's a sacrifice component.
Yeah, there's a sacrifice
to get to where you were at.
Yes, sir.
As well.
Get to where you are, and good people. I could say this: Carol Bossart was the first person that fronted me some money with a house that I bought that I needed the rest of the money to fix the house up. And but that comes with character. When someone knows your character, you have good character. When people know that, you know, if they loan you $1, you pay them back $1.05. You know,
right?
Not pay them back 90 cents.
Right.
You know, pay them back their money, and they just see that. So when I got in real estate, I was able to find a niche, which was affordable housing, which served our people mostly, and save the money from that point. And as I saved the money, and opportunities presented itself, and sometimes when opportunities presented itself, I didn't have all the money, but I had enough that somebody else was willing to take a risk with me.
Well, you had the characteristics that your parents put into you, and you displayed a hard work ethic with sales, because sales is a very hard job. It's constantly prospecting, and you constantly, as you say, hustling. And it's not as easy as people think. They think it's easy because they said yes to whatever it is.
Right.
But there's a lot of ground and footwork put in there. But after you cross over to sales, well, I hold you so esteemed. You mentioned that in underserved areas, you brought something back was very important. When we think of communities, the idea of you saying, I'm going to give affordable housing, not only created a big partnership with the city of Gainesville, because you created a tax base for them to have a continuous tax base with all the communities that you helped develop. And when you decided to go that route, you mentioned that to provide affordable homes, but just talk about how it was important that you change the dynamics from us going from those areas going from a rental nation to a home ownership.
Right. When Publix and some of these big conglomerates and big chains look into neighborhoods, they do a demographic study, and they look at rental compared to home ownership. And you don't really see a Publix or any of those companies in East Gainesville because it was such a big rental community. Lincoln, Carver's Garden, Kennedy Homes, Sugar Hill, Lake Road. All these were Gardenia, Village Green. They were all in our area. All the apartment complexes were there, and they were Section 8 apartments. So when I went around and I said, how do we, when we serve in our community, it's one thing to buy a refurbished home, but let's build some houses. The last development in East Gainesville of new houses was done in 1978. That was the 4th edition of Lincoln Estates. And then I came along and we did Lake Forest Trails out by Eastside, Lake Forest Farms. Lake Forest Farms. I did a partnership with NHDC, Ironwood, the infills at Ironwood, the infills in Lincoln Estates, Lincoln Park. I built Lake Forest Trails. We built Aaron's Garden, which is named after my daughter out on 441. It used to be Old Buck Bay. So we went in and we started creating, like you said, a tax base. We go in the neighborhood and there's 10 or 15 vacant lots from lots just sitting there. They've grown up. They got debris in them because everybody dropped their trash and keep it going.
Right.
That lot is costing the city money every month, every year. We go in and build a home on it. Now, like you said, we increase the tax base.
Well, you've helped Gainesville out a whole lot.
Yeah. We really did. And then what I wanted to do is to make sure that it continued. So we brought in other people with like kind that wanted to do the same thing with Diane and Greg DeBose and Broderick Johnson and Davin Woodard, Devonda Brown, because that was the next step. The next step is don't just do it yourself, but bring some other people in to start doing. So it won't be just, it's a nominee. He's just a nominee. Nobody else is doing this. When you bring in other ones, give it legitimacy.
So and it shows the teamwork.
Teamwork that is important to us because the more we work together and young youth see us work together, they're like, oh, we can work together. We can do a development together. We had the Dream Team, a group of realtors who were all African American that sold my product and also sold other products, and they did the same thing. So it was my dream to. Now it didn't come without any headaches. You know, it comes with headaches. It's funny. This is really evil and good out there. And the evil versus good is really real in all aspects, in business and biblically and all. There, you're gonna run into some struggles. So what ended up happening with me is I wanted to make sure that what I did for a living, someone else can see it. So I always had my sleeve up so you can see. I've always allowed people to see my successes and my struggles.
Well, the team building concept, I'm wondering if you're one of the first in Gainesville that was one of the successful realtors that did roll your sleeve up and allow that model to come, because now you see more of those people that you have those top $1 million producers, then all of a sudden they stay with the broker, but then they create their own team. And I guess an example would be Craig Wilburn, or what he's doing out there. I believe he has something like that that's modeled kind of what I saw you do. So that is a very important concepts you explain about the team building and just sharing information to our communities. Now with home ownership, I know how it helped the city with increasing their tax base and help business to possibly come. But what do you explain for as the importance of an individual on why you think home ownership is just so valuable and so important?
Well, Brian, let me get back on for 1 second, if I can double back. Craig Wilburn was working at Gainesville at the fitness center, and he was a salesman at AT&T when it was Alltel. And my first wife, my second wife. I got to keep up with them. She was working there, and I met Craig.
Okay.
And I said, Craig, you got the right, demeanor. You ought to get into real estate. So he got into real estate. In fact, the first house that Craig, investment property Craig, was my house. So he came over to Boss Art, and I told him, find your niche. What is your niche? And he found his niche. So probably most of the realtors from 97 to 2020 some kind of way came through me or knowing about me, and that was good, because people used to ask me, said, man, you getting all these people in real estate, don't you think that's gonna I said, no, because what God got for me, I said, so I'm okay with shepherding these guys along and getting them in. All those years in real estate, the more people I got in, the more I sold. I went from selling $5 million a year in real estate to $20 million.
Wow.
And I'm talking low income housing. I'm not talking about Hill Plantation or some of the big neighborhoods, $500,000-$600,000 houses. These was $100,000, $80,000, $120,000, but I was selling $20 million in real estate.
Well, that's that work ethic that you say your parents put into you.
Yes, sir.
And so you say you won't trade that nothing in the world, and it shows when you decide to put that much effort in it, because it's easy to leave that seed money and want to go ahead and miss the organic steps and go straight to the chemistry lab and say, I want to make this oak tree like tomorrow.
No. You got to have patience with it. And the question you asked about how important it is for the individual to have ownership over a rental. The impact of home ownership is this. A person buy a house, they buy a lawnmower, they buy plants in the yard, they buy better furniture, they buy appliances. When you rent a house, you don't do any of that. So all the other people out there that benefit from a homeowner, but the pride, when I was raised, my parents owned their house. A lot of black people don't own their house. So the kids grow up in that household, not even understanding home ownership.
Not understanding.
And not knowing how important it is to own a home. So growing up in an environment where I know mom and dad mortgage was $62 a month. I was a different kid. I knew I want to know everything.
He want to know everything.
I want to know everything, So, but I know their mortgage payment was $63 a month. They owned their house. They bought their house. So when a young lady or a young couple go out and they decide to not rent forever, and I dictate as a landlord what your rent is every year. I literally dictate what you're gonna pay me. When you get a mortgage, you got a set mortgage payment.
Right.
But the pride of it to walk out the door or to come home from work and knowing you pulling up to something that you own, it make a man feel better about his family.
Right.
It make a woman feel better about their kids. It make the kids feel better about their parents, because we own this. This is ours. Our home is the biggest purchase most people will ever make.
Correct.
And so the pride of a home ownership, when you start looking at neighborhoods and you start seeing a lot of rental properties, you start seeing that neighborhood go down. When you see neighborhoods that are homeowners, you see people mowing their grass and they keeping their place up and they painting their house every 5 or 6 years. It's just a different look. And so the importance of home ownership to our people, through steering in the past and redlining and all of these things that banks and realtors did to keep us from owning homes or trying to direct us in one place. I buy a house in Lincoln Estates, but I got a friend that works with me that's my manager that can afford a house in Northwood Pines. She don't even think about a home until I bought my house in Lincoln Estates. I've had so many people call me and say, hey, my boss want a house too. I'm like, oh, you get a house, you get a house, you get a house. And I end up selling that person a house in Northwest Gainesville, and then that person knows somebody that they end up buying a house in Hill Plantation. And so you see us as a gradual stepping up, you see us in Hill Plantation, Grand Oaks, and some of these neighborhoods.
Well, when you say one of the main benefits you shared was the pride factor, meaning when you own something, you tend to take care of it a little bit better.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, you mentioned how the real estate is one of the biggest purchases, and it's such a spinoff to help the economy growth. Because as you mentioned, in different sectors within a home, when you own a home, hey, you may need, in these days, you have your internet. You have extra utility costs. There's an extra real estate cost. There's a lot of different things that go on in that home to keep that help spurge the growth of the economy. But the dynamic of the neighborhoods is how you changed it as well, by addressing that. Hey, you mentioned all those apartments that are subsidized by Section A, and then all of a sudden, boom, here's Ed Dix being a trailblazer, and all these communities, and all those communities still exist today. It's like you have over a 20-year track record of those units still there today, and there's always some family members. And before this, to think about, all of it was just woods that was just neglected. Like some of the woods we used to cut through to get from Duval to Lincoln State,
Right.
are from different sections of the neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing your investments taking over and enhancing those areas and making a more of a community.
Yes.
Now, we still lack some resources coming over there, but the population that's there, with the good mix of, you have homeowners and you have some apartments, whereas before it was a real lack. And just like Lincoln State was, you mentioned, it had 4 phases, which I didn't know. I come from Duval, and I think it started in '69. And my friend David was telling me that it used to be called Florida Grove, or Florida Groves, way back in the day. And I believe you were part of this new Cedar Grove too, as well, correct?
Well, I did some selling of the homes out there.
Yeah.
Cedar Grove was the city program. That allowed, did allow us to sell homes. Allowed us to kind of put some input in things like that. But we did Lincoln Park. We did the infill lots at the back of Lincoln, 19 Terrace, 20th Street, 17th Drive. There was probably about 30 vacant lots back there that was left over from when they did the 4th edition. They ran out of gas and they just sat. We did Ironwood. We did 20 houses in Ironwood that was sitting. So we went in, and the infields is what important, because I'm doing that now in Lotchwa. In Lotchwa right now, the neighborhood, as you enter Lotchwa to the right, we've done about 25 homes up in there, all vacant lots. In fact, the city manager over there, Mike, was like, man, called me and said, we really appreciate what you're doing, because what happens when I start doing them, other builders say, hey,
Trailblazer.
it's money over here. This is, so I'm the guinea pig,
Right.
But you're right. The influx of the importance of new construction, or the importance of home ownership among our people is huge. And the more people like Raymond Mobley and Diane McGraw is building some homes now. Greg DeBose is building some homes now. So now there's a flock of black builders, contractors that's getting their license, and man, I'm getting my license because I saw what you did.
Right.
So now we're in another phase.
We're in another phase, and more as you mentioned earlier. There's plenty to share, and when you building single family dwelling homes, it does give you, quote unquote, what they say, a piece of the pie. And some of the benefits of owning a home is just the fact that the value, not only you treating with value, that the value increases with, the appreciation, and being able to see as you pay, see that your money increase as far as the value. And typically people stay in home 7 years, but I know in the black communities, we tend to get a home and we tend to stay.
It's fun.
We don't do a lot of movement. We tend to stay.
We don't, and I've that's one thing I've also educated buyers on when they buy a house. I say, listen, the first house I bought was in Northeast Gainesville off of 14 Drive. I paid $30,000 for it. I stayed in it 3 years, and I sold it for $65,000. The next house I bought was for $55,000 in Benwood. Stayed in it for 3 years and sold it for $175,000. The next house I bought was $240,000 in Huntington, and I sold it for $425,000. Stayed 5 years. The next house I built for $1 million, and it was a $2.5 million house. So every time I had that equity,
Right.
and I took that money and I put it. The other, most Americans that homeowners, they stay in a house, like you said, 5 to 7 years, and that house accumulate, it appreciates sometimes 5, 10, 12% a year.
Right.
And so now they got the money from the sale of that house to get a bigger house or a nicer house or a new house, and they grow. Our community, I had to trick my mama when I built my mother's house. I let her look at some plans. I said, Mom, I'm building this country lady like you a house, and I need some help trying to find out a plan. So my mom looked at the plan. And
Right.
I went and I started building a house, and I got the house almost finished. I said, Mom, I'm going to show you this house I'm building for that lady that you looked at the plan for. She needs some help with colors. Mom went out there and looked at the house. And she picked some colors. I painted it. I finished the house. I said, Mom, this your house.
This your house.
And she said, I like my house now. She was in Lincoln Estates, 1313 Southeast 17th Terrace. I said, Mom, you got to leave this house. I said, I just spent all this money on this house. Yeah, and so she moved out there, and we sold that house for her. And her and my dad moved into the new house. That's how I tricked her out of Lincoln Estates. But, they were in that house in 1964. My mom was 89 years old, still living, still a firecracker. And she was still being Lincoln Estates. Had I not just forced out the house, pretty much forced out the house, tricked out the house, not forced her. So you're right. I think that's the next education that we have to have is don't be afraid to step out there and sell and move on. But in that process, knowing that life is a marathon and not a sprint, we need to treat our credit like it's
gold.
Like it's gold.
Like it's gold.
And that's one of the big, I know people see me now in the mall or see me, someone say, Mr. Ed, they all call me Mr. Ed, the talking horse. I'm still in my house. And I'm like, and I'll tell them, 2120 Northeast 9th Street. How do you remember that?
You remember that?
I said, you bought in 1999. How you remember that? I said, I just do. So I said, but you still that good. I said, I pulled them aside and said, now, that house, you only paid $43,000 for that house. And that house worth $250,000 now. Yeah, I know. I got a couple of things I need to get done. I said, now, come see me later on and we could sell the house and get you another house.
I think what you just gave is a powerful way to increase wealth if you can just get that first home and get that real estate in your blood, as far as you don't have to be out here investing as big as you are, but just to increase your capital funds of resources of this knowing that, hey, you don't have to have that much loyalty to a house if it appreciates to help maybe fund your dreams through real estate just by owning home after home until you decide to settle at that point. And that is so much missed, and it's because of maybe the lack of education or just the fear. Or is it just the fear that, well, they gave me one, they may not give me another one.
And you're right.
That might be the fear, though.
And it is the fear because I tell people banks get paid by lending money. They don't get paid by telling you no. So it's there, but you got to give them a reason not to say no. And that reason be good credit. And obviously you're working, but good credit. So if you buy a house, when we walk into a building, we walk in there with our hat in our hand because we think we got to beg for something. But you go in there with a 750 credit score, never missed a payment, in good shape. You can walk in there with your head up high because they got to give you that money.
They got to give it to you.
You meet all the criteria.
It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game. They got to give you that money. It ain't we asking them to give us a loan. We telling them you're going to give me a loan. It's a different attitude. So,
and when you have a 700, that means you probably have a good way of showing them that you can demonstrate the ability to pay money back. That's the other part of the equation.
Right.
But I really like this, you explaining how not only that, hey, you don't have to stay in the same house, but just the fact that you can take that asset, which is real estate, is probably most of your wealthy individuals own a lot of real estate.
Right.
And it's because of all the tax benefits, the constant appreciation of it, the constant equity that you have exposure to, and just the access to capital at all times. And then it's just one of the greatest assets. You can't probably find one better. And you just showed how to you've taken a normal person and say that, hey, you don't have to everybody can't be Edwin Dix. Everybody can't be Michael Jordan. Everybody can't be Michael Jackson. But if you want to increase your personal development and personal wealth at the same time, because it feels good when you buy new. Just like it feels good when you buy a new pair of shoes or you get a nice haircut for the day or whatever the case may be. It can also feel good for your life to enhance it and let it fund some of your passions and dreams with that powerful strategy where you say that, hey, pay attention to your house. It's worth 40. 15 years later, it's worth 200,000.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, how do you utilize the equity in those homes?
Right. And a lot of people too. I have this young lady named Joyce Randall. I hope she don't mind me saying her name. I met her. She had a house in Lottrell. I think we sold that house for $36,000, and she bought another house from me. I think it was like 80. But she took the $36,000 and put it towards the 80. She ended up financing like $50,000. She stayed in that house for about 3-4 years, and she called me. She said, "I'm ready to build me a house." I built a house off of 30th Avenue down the road here, 737 Northwest 30th Avenue, and built that house. And she took the equity from the other house, and she ended up financing like $70,000. Brand new house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. She stayed in it for about 4 years. I get another call from Mr. Ed, I'm ready to get me another house. I built the house in Aaron's Garden. She financed that house, got 100 and something for this one. That house ended up being like 170. She financed like $50,000. So she still almost got the same amount of mortgage each time, but she's getting new houses. And then she sold that house, and my sister, about 2 years ago, sold her another house. So she's gone, and every time she's getting new. So what happens when you have an older house? You need a roof, you need windows, you need doors, you need appliances, you need cabinets. And what we do, we go get a high-end interest rate home equity loan and do this work. Well, if you don't stay in it long enough to have to worry about it, stay in the house, like I say, 7-8 years. Then move on, because at 7-8 years, it's nothing you really got to do to that.
It's like laddering up.
Exactly.
Sort of say laddering up.
Exactly.
And don't be scared of that.
Don't be afraid of it.
And so, you know, when it comes to those that are in that lower income quartile, I can understand why they may stay in that home, because they feel like, it's like, I fought so hard just to get it, then I don't want to lose it.
Right.
And then a lot of times, also, besides just buying a home, there's opportunities outside of just buying the home if they can maintain it, such as investing in other areas, whether it's more real estate like yourself, or just investing into your own business, or just investing into your children's education, or whatever the case may be. So home ownership provides so many different dynamics, and that's a community building that you've done all over Gainesville, that sometimes when I look at the landscape and say, wow, you truly have been a pioneer to spurn off a lot of talent that came behind you, that wanted to mimic what you do, and as well as give it an idea that, hey, I can help this way as well. Now, outside of your community building, you mentioned like setbacks that you have, or when I say setbacks, you're like, okay, I had the dream team. Like, how difficult was that process of putting all those individuals together and to try to have them buy into your concept and your way of doing things, or how you got to where you got to, and for have them to endorse that in their current practice?
I could tell you, it was fun, challenging, a lot of babysitting. A lot of babysitting. I give one a listing, and it was $50,000 more than the next one listing, and somebody mad about that. So that's just the nature of people. Right. It was worth it. It was tough. We sat down and we met every Tuesday. I used to hate sales meetings when I was at Boss Hard. I never went to them, and since I was top dog, I didn't have to go. What you gonna do? I sold $20 million. What you gonna do? I ain't coming in. I'm selling $2 million a month. I ain't coming to this meeting. I'm selling $500,000 in real estate a week. So I ain't coming to no meeting. And Carol Boss, I was like, don't bother Eddie, he crazy, he ain't coming. And then she'll call me later and say, man, y'all to come every now and then, you're making me look bad. But the meetings was important. So we met every Tuesday, and we talked about individual goals. I think one of the biggest key to a team is you have a team and you think the team is acting as a unit of one, and it should. But that team is also individual peoples. So you got
it's hard to win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's why it's hard to win a championship.
Exactly. So we had a good group of guys, and I look back at it. I look at them like my kids to a certain extent. I kind of sit back and just watch them do what they do. I think that they got a lot of knowledge from it. Was it really tough? No, because all of them were smart people. All of them are good people. We didn't have any crabs, we didn't have people who was out for their own agenda. They truly did believe in what we were doing. And they knew I was also fostering them, doing more than just that. I wanted them to have their own. I wanted them to grow and have their own companies and leave me.
I saw it, but I saw it as a success because, like I said, it was the first time.
Right.
To see that many professionals together that looked like me.
Right.
At one setting. I mean, you guys had your own office.
Right.
You had a very nice office that you had went in there and regutted. And you were taking, it's not like the dream team was just people that was just already $1 million producers.
Right.
You were trying to turn them into $1 million producers.
We were bringing in people who was brand new at
giving
real
them
estate.
opportunity.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And that's what I like the most about what I saw. That I give you kudos to that.
Right. I appreciate that. And if you go down the list, you got Diane that has her group homes.
Yeah, she's big in that.
Yeah, she's building some houses now. She still sell real estate. Then you got Raymond Mobley. He has his contractor's license, and he's building homes. Greg DeBose has his contractor license. He's building homes. Davin Wood is a commercial salesman for Ballsard and doing well, and we've done some investment properties together. He's doing a house now in Lincoln Estates for Spring Hill Church. And so if you start looking at the people and what they did after the fight, a tree don't grow without water. You know what I mean? So it may grow slow, but it grows. But so those guys really grew into really good people. It's funny I mentioned this for a second. When Mike, your brother, was playing football for me and Detron, me and Lucius and Detron was coaching them out behind Duval. It was.
I remember that playing field.
Yeah,
everybody came through that.
Yeah, it was Mike Harris, Baker, Tyrone Baker, not Tyrone, Robert Baker. Robert Baker.
That kid went to
Leon.
Auburn.
Yeah, Leon Payne, Kenyatta. Man, we were loaded, and all these kids. You look at these kids now, and I say, man, these guys were. It's amazing how they grew into the young men they are today, and I see that with the Dream Team. They grew into some really successful, really good, well-rounded, strong, powerful black business people.
Right. You planted a seed. You gave a platform, and you gave opportunity.
Right.
All off once again your passion, real estate. Starting at that 8-year-old kid that's working for free.
Yeah.
Bringing the hammer, bringing the tools, bringing the hamburgers.
Yeah.
And learning and saying, hey, I want to take that opportunity back. So I know you build the communities as in single homes development.
Right.
Other investments outside of that, and within the real estate. What other investments that you would recommend, or to what investments you've been involved with besides the single family dwelling homes?
Well, I built 441 self-storage facility out by Griffiths Lumber. I did Southwest 34th Street self-storage facility. We did Mallorca condominiums, Hannah condominiums. At one point we did. I was part of the ownership of Cricket Club apartments off of Road. I was one of the founding members of Alarian Bank, which is now Renaissance Bank.
Right.
So, in all that is finance, real estate. In that field, all of us in that field. We did some football management stuff for a while, and we was it's funny. We was trying to sell the guys in 08 and 09, 7, 8, 9. I was a mentor for the Florida football program, and a lot of the guys, Brandon Spice and Percy Harvey and Brandon James and Joe Hayden and Jermaine Cunningham and all these boys, all of them end up in the Pouncey boys, Hernandez.
Yeah, all those kids went kind of high now.
Yeah, they did. And they used to come to my house on Sundays out there, get my food, eat up my food, and we'll talk about real estate. And, what are you going, when you get into the league, your biggest opportunity to invest is when you first get in, because you got a 5-year contract.
Right.
And when you got a 5-year contract, banks will loan you money. You can't wait till you're on your last year of a contract, because they're gonna say, you may not have a job in a year. And so we tried to educate them guys to get in real estate, but real estate was boring then. Not real estate the thing. So back then they want to do nightclubs.
They call it woke right now.
Yeah.
We woke right now.
Yeah, they woke down. So back then we was trying to educate those kids into doing real estate. One of the biggest things you asked about the fall. Or is it any falls, or is it all peaches and cream? No, it's not all peaches and cream. In 2009, the real estate market crashed.
Everything crashed then.
I crashed with it. We lost $3 million in cash and $15 million in assets. I'm sitting up in a $2.5 million house with $432 to my name. Seriously, I'm talking about $432.
But as you mentioned earlier, there was 2 types of broke.
It was 2 types of broke. But I was
asset to counter, but for as no cash, 432, and a lot of bills coming.
A lot of bills coming. In fact, not even 30. I had a Clay Electric unit bill on my call box at my gate. They taped it to my call box, and it says I had to pay a $431 utility bill that Monday.
And you had 432.
I had $1. So I got up Monday morning, but I had assets, and I sat there and I said, you know what? What I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna do? And so prior before the fall, I'm sitting out here with almost $700,000 in cars and stuff in the yard.
Fire sale. It's gone.
Well, what I did, I got up, I prayed in my $50,000 closet. And I prayed, and I said, God, what I'm going to do? And he said, get rid of some of this stuff, dummy.
Right.
And I'm like, you're right. All the cars were paid for.
Right.
So I got up that Monday morning, and I started driving to Phil's Bentley in Orlando, Longwood. I was going to put my car for consignment. Now, the backside of that story is I had wrote a contract to buy 3 houses in East Gainesville for $20,000 a piece. I wrote a check for $1,000 as a deposit. It was 3 different homeowners, 3 different investors on the houses. I wrote one check. I made a Xerox copy of that check, and I gave it to all 3. But my closing agent was Jose Marino. I gave him the check. I said, hey, man, here go a copy. He said, well, when you bring the checks over? I said, I bring them over next week. He said, okay, no problem. So I gave him the check. He sent them verification of the funds because he knew that I'm going to bring a check. I had 30 days to close on these houses. I'm down to Monday and got to close Friday. If not, I got to produce $3,000. Just told you I had $432.
Yeah.
So I got up, I drove to Orlando, and all halfway there I called Vernon Knowles, which was the salesman at Bentley, and said, hey, I'm bringing my car there for y'all to sell it. He said, we don't do consignments. I said, y'all were doing this one. I said, because I'm at Wildwood and I'm getting there. I said, he said, bring it on in. I get in there, and when I go inside, he said, hey, I'm with somebody. Do you have the title and all that? I said, y'all in the car. He said, get all that, bring it back. It's paid for, right? I said, yeah, the car paid for. Go out and get my paperwork out the car. There's a kid looking in the window. I said, excuse me. He said, oh, I'm sorry, this your car? I said, yeah. He said, man, this thing clean. I said, yeah, it's for sale. He said, I'm looking for, my dad will be here in a second. I'm looking for me a used Bentley. I said, you can buy this one. He said, which one? I said, I want $150 for it. His daddy walked up while we were talking. I tell his daddy, he said, well, you will take $135. I said, no, I'll take $145. He said, we'll take it.
Right.
We go back in the place, and Vernon said, I'm ready for it. I said, I sold the car. He said, huh? I said, just sold the car. I said, what y'all to charge me to do the paperwork? He said, $500. Did the paperwork. I said, man, I need to ride home. I said, where y'all from? They said, oh, we live in Gainesville. I said, what? He said, yeah, we live in Gainesville.
How ironic.
I said, where? He said, we live in Madeira. I said, I built the house in Madeira. He said, wait a minute. You got a silver F-150? I said, yeah. He said, I've seen you over there a few times. It's next door to their house. Wow. I said, well, y'all don't give me a ride because I ain't got no ride, right? And I was going to rent a car and come back. But so the kid said, yeah, I gave you a ride back in your own car. I said, come on, let's ride. So I ended up riding back to Gainesville in my car. I closed on the 3 houses because I had $145,000. I closed on the 3 houses. Felt good to me. I said, man, I sold the Range Rover, the Escalade, I sold the jet skis, the boat, and I put together about $300,000.
So we getting into the art of your comeback.
Of the art of the comeback. I took
from
that,
being in a dark closet with $432 in your pocket.
Yeah, and 90 days later, I bought those. Well, the next day, I ended up with $150,000, $145,000. I spent $60 on the properties. I used about $60 to fix them up, and I sold those houses for $125, $115, and $114. $114, well, basically $115, $115, and $125.
Okay.
So I ended up with $300 and something thousand, $360 some odd $1,000. Plus, I sold all the other cars, the boats, the jet skis. So I put together a little over $500,000 in about a 90-day period of time. And I was like Mortimer on Trading Places. We back. You know, I'm good now. So
right.
And I
you,
kept.
You just dropped another jewel. That as you making money, that you showed that your spending patterns was not just all on, excuse my language, bullshit.
Right.
You bought a lot of things that you could liquidate that had value, an intrinsic value, in order for you to be able to sell.
Right.
So you're teaching a lot with the home ownership on why it's important to have and what you can do, and also this spending. I know you may say, hey, some may say, well, golly, he was spending a lot of money. We all do.
We all do.
But at the same time, you spent on some, but showing the importance of real estate. It was real estate that you were spending on that when you did hit that $432 moment in 2008 with everything around you, it's like from 432 to $500,000 in 90 days. I guess you can do it outside of the NFL, huh?
You can do it outside the NFL. Yeah, you do. And I think the biggest thing you got to look at, never just put your head in the dirt. You know, I never did panic.
Okay.
But I never had a whole bunch of pride where I was worrying about what someone thinks. Sometimes we'll freeze ourselves based on, well, if I sell this Bentley, people going to say I'm broke. Well, people ain't paying my bills. People ain't paying for my daughters to go to Millhopper Montessori at $3,000 a month. That was for me to pay. So I'd rather somebody say that and my kids can keep going to school where they're going, or I can worry about people pride and hang on this stuff till I got to get rid of it.
Right.
Even the house itself, I sold the house. I sold everything. I told my daughters when we were moving out this 12,000 square foot, $2.5 million house into a 1,500 square foot rental, I said, baby, I have you in a new house in 2 years. I had already drawn the house that I wanted. I had it on the wall. We never unpacked our boxes. We took a couch and a beds out, but we never unpacked our boxes. So don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable.
You get
now, when in 2008, I'm thinking about how at that point, nobody had control of that real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Market. So that's like the first time of turning you into a real, I'm not going to say the word real investor, but it's like you realize it's another level to it.
It's another level.
There's market trends that maybe we didn't pay attention to.
Right.
That it forces you to sit back and kind of say, hey, what happened here?
Right. And what taught me was residual income. All my stuff prior to that was buy, sell, buy, sell. Down the road, I bought an apartment building in Newberry, 10-unit building. Caught somebody in a tough spot. I paid $50,000 for 10 units. Put another 100 and fixed it up. I just got an appraisal 3 weeks ago for $1.1 million on the place. I have $150,000 in the whole, about $150,000 in the whole place. It has paid for itself so many times because I'm getting $10,000 a month rent.
Right.
So in the past, I had no residuals. I had cars, vehicles, assets like that. I had some land, but I didn't have anything that was bringing money in. So when you're making this money, you two things you got to take into account for: taxes and savings. Because if you force yourself to put money in places that you really can't really touch, it's gonna be there because you're gonna spend it. You're gonna spend it. I did what the athletes did. I was new money. I'm buying $5,000 suits. I had 25s. I got $250,000 suits in my closet. Just crazy stuff. And you don't do that between suits and slacks and shoes. You don't do it.
You know the difference between you and an athlete?
What that?
You know the real estate business.
Oh yeah. Athlete don't. Athlete don't. Well, I used to tell the guys
when they go broke,
they broke.
They broke
because they ain't running that football anymore.
Exactly.
I used to tell the guys at my house. I said, "Listen," I said, "the difference," and I promise you, I used to preach them this. I said, "You gonna play? You got a window. Average athlete play football 3 years.
3 years.
A nominee is 10. In fact, the NFL banking on you because you got to be in 3 years to get your first level of retirement. But it's 2.5 seasons is the average lifespan of a football player. I can do this till they put me in a box. I can sell real estate. As long as this brain working. I said, but you can't run a 4.3 at 33. You know what I mean?
Nah, you
and
can't. That's
a young age,
Yes,
So
absolutely.
be careful with your money. Learn from me. And I told them, this story about being broke and having $432 in my name, I don't mind telling it.
Right.
Because because people probably never knew I was 432. I'm riding around here in a Bentley, and I got $432. I'm riding around here in an Escalade. I'm riding around in a Range Rover. I'm riding around here in Old School. I'm riding around here with a F-150 truck, double set of jet skis, $100,000 bass boat, all this stuff, and I got $432 to my name. You tell that story, for they won't do it.
Right.
We so private with our struggles, but loud with our successes.
Well, every investor, no matter what genre of business you're in, you're going to have that setback.
Oh, you're going to have a setback.
If you're a stockbroker, they may have experienced in 2008.
Yeah.
If you're playing football, basketball athlete, you're going to have it. Mm-hmm. But the key to having it is when you have it. What you showed me was, for one, the reaction. Mm-hmm. You stay positive.
Right.
Secondly, you showed the perseverance, meaning there's no quit.
No quit.
And then the confidence of saying, I'm going to set a date. When I heard you say, I drew a house when I moved from a 12,000 square foot house back to a 1,500 square foot house, and I drew a plan of my next house, meaning you knew.
I knew.
And
I told my daughters 2 years, we moved in the house, 8,000 square feet, 5 acres, $1.5 million. I paid cash for it, built it myself, and got appraised $1,522,000. 1 year, 11 months, and 29 days from the day I told her. 1 day short of 2 years.
1 day short.
1 day short of 2 years. And it wasn't nothing in there. And you know what I did during some of that time? I cleaned houses for HUD. I mowed grass for what they call initial services. That's when HUD take a house and they need it cleaned up, ready for sale.
Correct.
I did that in 11 counties. I wake up in the morning.
I think my brother Mike did that when he first started his career.
Exactly.
Cleaning HUD homes, if I can remember right. It's been a little while. So it's funny how that is adding up to what he's doing now, with kind of being another trailblazer, where he's kind of building some communities up as well. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the multi-units. You say one of the things that you didn't have was you learned your lesson of saying, I was buying and selling homes, but I didn't have that cash. You were a great salesperson.
Exactly. I wasn't buying and renting and getting. We have those 10. We're building 22 in Lotchwell. Got another piece of property we're going to do 18 on. So I said I'd get me 100 and something units. And I have a place in West Virginia. I had a 65 unit place in West Virginia that we ended up selling to the city of West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia. And we got rid of those, which was a sweet deal. So now I'm concentrating on building up because I got kids.
Right.
And I want my kids to be able to, I want them set up. You know, we have a business or we have a career. I want something to leave them. You don't leave a job to your kids. You can't tell JR you give my daughter a job. You know, 'cause I worked there for 30 years.
Right.
So I want to leave them something. I want them to be able to. My daughter's leaving to go to college in August, and I want to make sure that when she finished college, she have the advantages of some of these kids I've sold houses to.
Exactly.
That get out and say, oh, you know, I picked out Dad paying for it, $300,000, $400,000. Dad paying for it.
You know, you explaining to us live the benefits of building residual income and being able to. The next thing is, you mentioned after you leave, is freezing those assets to continue to maintain that standard of living that you was able to expose your children to, and for them to be able to buy into your concept. And you know, I don't like to mention Donald Trump name.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with Donald Trump, but I'm just gonna say nothing wrong. I ain't into the politics, but you just explained, pretty much explained the same thing he went through with his setbacks of real estate.
Right.
But what I'm focusing on is what the industry itself did, that with yourself and other real estate investors got into. For those that had real estate holdings or had the assets of real estate, were able to utilize those assets to say, okay, I learned my mistake, and you did a pivot.
Right. And yeah, and that is growth, because I got all the wildness out of me, all the cars and all of that stuff. You know, now my daughters drive Teslas, my wife drive Tesla. You know, everybody drive, you know, $100,000 cars or whatever. I got a pickup truck. You know what I mean? I got
Been there, done that.
I got a pickup truck. It's a nice pickup truck, but it's a pickup truck, and so my thought process changed.
Right.
Now I'm looking at the future and making sure they're fine, and making sure that they have the advantages that I just didn't give them a good life. They don't have a clue what anything really costs at one point, but then they do, because I keep them abreast. When we went through the crash, I sat them down and I said, listen, I said, this is what's going on.
Right.
You know, this is, let me show you this bank statement that at one point had $2,385,000 in it, that's got $432 in it now. And here's the assets that I had to give back, Capital City Bank and places like that, to give back to them, but had a plan.
Right.
Said give it back to them. I'm file bankruptcy in 3-4 years. So it was a plan with it. But we have kids, and we only want them to see the sweet, sunny, pretty side. But if you educate your kids on what's really going on, you end up raising some good adults. Because now they say, I set them down and say, this is where we are. We're right here. This is what we have. This is why we moving. You follow me? And they understand it to the day.
Right.
And they know it. And
you took them on the journey, and going back to prior when I mentioned about your community building, most of the community buildings, for some reason, it just seemed like, I don't know the statistics behind it, but when you have a home, you tend to have families in a home.
Right.
So that component of you being a family man, of being able to be an example to the communities that you started out in East Gainesville building those homes.
Right.
You know, I hope that at the end of the day, a lot of us take it back to say, not only was he an investor and he helped a lot of communities, but look at from a model position of a great father that's caring about the situation of his children and doing something about it.
Right.
And
other people's children. I mean,
right,
you know,
right.
I had a kid 6 months ago, I was going to the courthouse and filed a notice of commencement for a house I'm starting. And he stopped in the middle of the road, nice Corvette, good-looking young man, like, looked military. He looked like he just had that look. And he got out the car and he walked over. He said, "Mr. Dix, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You sold my mama a house in Lincoln Estates." I said, "Okay." I said, "She live on 20th, right?"
Right.
He said, "Yeah." I said, "When you go down 17th, you go down 13th all the way to the end, you run right into her door."
I'm trying to think your involvement with children go way back to Cuddly Kids, I believe.
Right, yeah.
You did a lot of you sponsored a lot of
Well, I
local
own Cuddly
teams.
Kids. I own Cuddly
remember
Kids.
that.
It was a daycare. I sold it to my church, Passage Church, and we sponsored. At one point, I sponsored all the teams at the boys' club.
Yeah.
Nobody else was sponsored.
I remember
and then
that.
Maddox ended up sponsoring the team. I think Lee Calhoun ended up sponsoring the team. But a couple of years, it was all 5 teams. I sponsored all the teams and bought uniforms and got their physicals done and all that because we was trying to keep the Southeast Boys Club going.
Is that back up for sale? Is it?
No, some church bought it.
I thought it was back up.
Yeah,
for sale
it may
by
be.
the
I
church.
don't know, but yeah, we did. We did a lot of community, donating and working in the community. We did up in Alachua. About 6 months ago, we had a lady that had a house that looked horrible. We went in and got Florence to bring us dumpsters for free, and Lowe's gave us paint for free, and we got 10, 15 people went over there, and we loaded 3 30-yard dumpsters of debris out of the yard and painted her house and cleaned it up. And stuff like that.
I read that, I believe this was in Alachua, Florida, that you built a community and there was one sore thumb in it. And I believe the elderly person at that time just couldn't afford all the repairs. And I think you and your spouse, you guys went in there and not for profit. Pretty much you was on the tractor lawnmower and
that's the house.
That's the house. Is that the same house? So
yeah, that's the house.
But and a lot of that is unknown. But you've done a lot with individuals from what I've heard that was in a bind, and you kept pulled them out and put them back on their path of life there.
Right. We don't advertise it.
Yeah.
We don't do it for somebody to say, "Oh, look what they did." It fell upon our heart to do it. We did it. We have a nonprofit called Evan Bryce Dix, which is my son that passed at birth. He was a twin to my oldest daughter, Emaya, and so we have a community. We have a CDC for them, for him, and we did it under that company. We have a scholarship program that we give scholarships out, and I never take a picture. I told him earlier. I don't even smile. And
we appreciate you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even smile. And things like your show here, your brother's what he's doing. We have to. I just spoke with a guy today. They got a project over in Southeast Gainesville by Kennedy Homes, where Kennedy Home was in Carver's Garden, where they're about to do 30 houses. And Wayne Fields is involved in it. He's kind of the liaison for this project, and Davin Wood is involved, and Moblick, JoJo, Ishmael Wrench, and more people involved. And I said, you don't let them take it from you. At Hartwood, I wanted to bid to do half the houses, and then they changed. They changed from basketball to baseball. So from baseball to basketball. So.
They always move the goalposts.
They move the goalposts.
They move the goalposts. That's common.
That's common. They rebid it and got me out the way because they didn't want a black man building houses over there. They didn't want us involved in the city of Gainesville. I told them to stay loud. I kind of went through that on my own.
Right.
Now some people did jumped up and start fighting with me, but I pretty much went through it by myself. Could have pushed this. Could have lawyered up. And would have won easily, but it wasn't worth it. So I told them to keep it loud. It's going to probably be the first development in East Gainesville built by all black builders and developers. So, but you got to stay loud with it because, like I said, the county city will move the goalposts on you and give it to one of their buddies. And I tell people it's not racist. if I golf and hang out with you and go to dinner with you and shoot basketball with you, I want you to do this work. You know, because not because you black, because you my boy. With them, we're not their boy. We don't go golfing with them and luncheons and go deep sea fishing with them. They do that, and they're comfortable with giving it to Bill. I want to give it to.
They doing business where they feel most comfortable. At the end of the day,
and so
that is why I think what your body of work over the years has done. You created a lot of people to try to have that voice.
Yes.
By getting involved in real estate and showing that if Ed can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
Because you don't see that too often within our communities of someone, being that strong father figure, which you are, showing that you're a great real estate investor. And then this community oriented, I believe your son was Edvin, and you mentioned the Edvin Bryce community.
Edvin Bryce Dix community.
Is this a way to keep his name and his legacy going? What I like what you and your spouse is doing, and you continue your work with building Alachua County and the surrounding areas that you work through your work with bringing homes and development. And I know at some point, I heard you mention the word retire. And I don't see you retiring.
Right. Well, no, I don't plan on retiring. This is so easy for me.
Yeah,
it's really easy work. We got 15 projects going now, and people, man, how you keep up with all that? Because this is what God blessed me to do. And
some things just natural.
Just natural. Jordan can shoot a jump shot. I can put together. You can build. I can do what I can build these houses, and I tell the guys, I said, you got to love what you're doing. You got to have, when you get shook, don't let it shake you. Because in the book of Job, the devil tempted him.
Oh, and did he tempt him?
He tempted him.
He stayed focused.
He stayed focused. So that's my favorite book, the book of Job. So sitting in the closet with $432, going through a financial crash, reading the newspaper, local builder Ed Dix sued by Center State Bank Capital City Bank and all that stuff. It didn't even faze me, because I'm like, they can sue all they want. They ain't getting nothing. They're not going to get anything. I'm going to give it to them in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and I'm going to form my other company up and do what I got to do, and that's what we did. And
you kept your word, man.
I kept my word. Yeah.
Even though they went for the lawsuits, at the end of the day, those are just part of business. And they were trying to collect their chips based off a market that changed, that didn't just affect Gainesville in 2008. That real estate bubble, the world.
Yeah.
So it's just it was a more of a learning lesson. They made you a better investor.
Yeah, they did.
They made you that experience made you a better investor. And they always say, like, you have like the internet now. You have all these kids, they gurus,
right?
And you have all the OGs sitting back saying, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah,
be ready. That's who you're gonna see who you're gonna get the chance to see who's who when the time comes.
Exactly.
And that's what it has done. So in closing, man, I would just like to ask you, since you built so many communities, and when I think of communities, I think about you coming there and just developing beyond just the homes.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us the dream on how you would love to develop a community where they have all the services. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things in our urban community or the low income or hood communities or whatever you want to associate with it, they lack the services. You always got to cross the track to get to what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's funny you said that. And God make no mistakes, and I'm very conscious of what he do, and when someone says something to me, I see all this in slow motion. Mm-hmm. It's all instant replay. It doesn't happen. I'm just watching it in slow motion.
Right.
I don't get shook by much. I don't let anybody. I'm not ever mad or hate anybody. I love everybody. I mean, I don't need that energy, and I allow stuff to come my way. I have a young man working with me now, Anthony, Natalie's son, Anthony.
Tony.
Tony, Anthony.
He love you too.
Yeah, he does. And you know,
I think he said he's getting his GC license.
Yeah, he is. And he rode with me a lot of times, and he was like, "Man, he be geeked up," and I'm like, "That's all right." He said, "Man, I don't know how you stay so calm." I said, "Because, bro, it's good. Don't worry about it. It's all right."
Right.
And so I was telling him one day. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, when you going to do a community like what you're talking about?" And I said, the right time will come." And yesterday, I went somewhere where I haven't been in 10 years. I went to Cracker Barrel. I hadn't been to Cracker Barrel since my daughter was 6, 7. Yeah, and she's 18 now. And so I went to Cracker Barrel, and Ted Nichols walked in. I don't know if you know Ted Nichols. He's a black attorney.
I heard the name.
Yeah, they own 35 acres across from what they call the old Black Shopping Center. Oh, it's a daycare now or whatever. It's a charter school. Okay. You know, the property right across the street, it goes from there all the way to 15th Street at Lincoln Estates. They own 30-something acres. And I saw him at Cracker Barrel, and he stopped and he said, "Man, I hadn't seen him in 10 years." And I said, "Ted, y'all still on that land across from?" He said, "Yeah, you know, we don't look like we're gonna ever do anything with it." I said, "You know what? I'm gonna give you a call about that property because that's exactly where it could go there." And right now, with the influx of people coming from Depot up to through here, you're getting more traffic. Yeah, and then you got to think they redid the road 4th, I guess that's 4th, that goes from the park off of Main Street up to Williston Road, and then you got 8th Avenue, which runs from Main Street also up to what's called. So both those roads meets at the park, and all of that is being built up. So it's probably a good time for something over there. So he asked me about he needed some plumbing work done. So I sent him a plumber, and he texted me back today and said, "Man, I really appreciate you sending that guy my way. He's here now doing the work." And I said, "Good." He said, "But," I said, "Okay." I said, "But I'll give you a call first of the week about that property, which is, you know, a great piece of property. Your houses in the back, retail in the front, a town center. It's basically
a town center. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to get in touch with him. Me and Alan Hitchcock is really good friends at Hitchcock Groceries. Real good guy. We've done some investing together, and he's worth about $200 million. So he's out in the World Series now, watching the baseball World Series. So he out to wherever they're at, Omaha, wherever they are. And we had talked a few times.
Is he a Gator fan?
Yeah, big Gator fan. Yeah, he's a big Gator.
I think we got blanketed 5-0 in that.
We did get beat.
I think Texas A&M got us.
Texas A&M got us. Okay.
They got us 5.
Yeah, because they lost the first game, so they was in the elimination. And
they got us, I believe.
So he's probably coming home. Well, I think he's gonna watch the whole thing. So, but we had talked a while ago about doing a project. You know, like you said, in the town center, and that'll be right up the road. You know, from Williams Elementary. Lincoln,
oh man, that's going to mean so much to that side of town if you guys are able to do that, man. And that's what I've been waiting on. It's like, well, hey,
that's going to be my checkout project.
Checkout project.
You know, where I check the boxes and say, now I'm always going to do 10, 15, 20 houses a year because it's easy. You know, but because I can't just retire, I can't do that.
You're too young.
Well, that, and I got these guys that I really enjoy working with them and being in the mix to be able to work with them. Again, really ain't like I need a whole bunch of money anymore. I'm okay. I'm gonna be all right, you know, that way. So right now, the money's not the important thing. It's more building and getting these guys to where they need to go. And now we're not just a nominee. This is us. You know, you got 8 or 9 or 10 black contractors now, where it was just 2 before.
Right.
You got, 30, 40, 50 black realtors now, where it was 5 or 6.
Right.
You know, and so we're getting there. So now we're not just, again, we just not. Oh, just so happen it's 1 or 2. You can discount 1 or 2.
Yeah, you can discount 1 or 2.
You can't discount 50. 60, 70. So I love to see us grow in the business. I love to see us grow more in the investment side of the business. But again, to cap off what you first started off, I think you got your grind could be in sales, get licensed, to be in the know. Because even if you're in a real estate office or you got a license, somebody may just happen to say, hey, so-and-so came to me with this house. I'm not interested in it. Are you interested? I've bought more houses you can believe from people think it was a throwaway.
Right.
So being in the mix though, even in the
right.
banking business, when I was in the banking business, I ended up selling we built 3 banks here and 2 in Ocala. I sold the property to us.
Mm-hmm.
These are all $1 million properties at 5% commission. So I made $300,000 in commissions just because I was in the right room.
Right.
Wasn't in that room. There wasn't somebody else in that room would have sold it. So the opportunities for us to be in this business, doing what you do, doing what your brother do. We just got to get better at working together, and when one call, we answer.
Yeah, well, that's the key. It's like we have the University of Florida, and they have a small community, and that's what they have to do out there. They have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And after hearing you share the information today, I'm definitely gonna brush up on my sales skills, because you show that when people say that there's no way to have money to do what you do, it's like you show that no, I was given an opportunity and they got my license, and I went out there and worked, and you took less in areas that people did not want to work, and you turned it into a gold mine. The sacrifice.
Yes.
Of being able to say, hey, I'm used to living off of $15,000. Okay, I made $80,000 this year. I'm gonna live off $15,000 because I want to go to that next. Your story kind of sees the investor kind of already turning the wheels. Like, okay, I had this one year, and I'm gonna do the next thing. But you mentioned the credit, but when you get into that banking, I know for myself and others, understanding how those loans work is like another discussion in itself.
Yes.
You just can't go to the bank. Like when you mentioned multi-units, when I first went into the bank, it was
yeah.
I'm like, whoa, this is different than just applying for a car.
Oh yeah, it's different than a car. Yeah, you have
this is totally different.
Exactly.
So there's a lot more to go into real estate. But I say that to say that real estate provides so many opportunities for individuals. You have to just pick your lane on what you're doing.
That's true.
Like be a great mortgage broker. Being a great mortgage broker, you can teach. Tell Mr. Ed what he needs, or what you can do for him. Tax consequence, you mentioned that. The opportunity for somebody that's a renter. It's like you're saying, hey, no excuses with me. If you want to change the situation, let's just correct that.
Right.
Let's get you a home, and if come 5 years later, if you can pay that same amount, we can come back and redo this all over again. Redo this all over again. Being in the know. That's something that also I think urban communities have to be more aware of how to be in the know. Sometimes we like reactors. Like, oh, that passed? And then we say, they do what they want to do. And it's like you say, the voices have to be heard.
Right.
The voices have to be heard. So, I want to thank you so much, man, for taking time out your busy schedule.
No problem. I appreciate it.
To come over and give us some time. And I do look forward, because there's so much more just from listening to this that we can talk about. But like I say, we're not here to make anybody experts, but to help point the direction. I think even for myself, you made a couple light bulbs come in, did some talking, saying ding, 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 ding.
Yes, sir.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes,
Ding, ding, ding. And I want to give a shout out to my partner, Nehemiah Harmon. He's behind the production, trying to get me to become a podcaster here a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good.
So I know he's going to take the paddle and be like, you can't do this no more. And it's okay, because that's his job.
Yeah.
So I want to appreciate you for coming through, and I hope to be able to have an opportunity to talk with you and your wife about the legacy you built with your son. That you mentioned that he had a situation with passing there, and how you've keeping that name of knowing more about that particular organization, and have her introduce being the first, let me get this correct, the first female real estate black broker in the city of Gainesville, Florida. So
Yes, sir. And she's Royal Realty.
Royal Realty.
Yes, sir. She's right off of 23rd Avenue here, Northwest.
When you think of royalty, is it the color purple? There's some purple in her.
You know what? Yeah, it actually is. It actually got some purple in there somewhere.
Yeah, some purple in her logo.
Yeah. She got a really nice car, really nice logo. But she kind of bougie, so she gonna have it right now. You ain't gonna get no mess with her. She's gonna have it right.
That's why we get them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
When they be right, sometimes they keep us right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, so once again, man, I appreciate you coming through.
I appreciate you.
We hope to have you again. Until we meet again with Common Hood, we are out.
Want to elevate your brand with professional audio and video? At the Gainesville Podcast Studio, we make podcasting easy. Our fully equipped studio and expert engineers handle everything from recording to editing to upload. It's a complete done-for-you podcasting solution. Book your session today and let your voice be heard. Visit GainesvillePodcastStudio.com today to book your session.